Welcome back, everybody, to the Jim Rathmann Show. I am your host, Jim Rathmann. One quick shout out to Podgo Services and Hi Hello Labs. All right, so what we're going to talk about today is a continuation of what we talked about previously involving Harvard Medical School and the Morgue crematory that we spoke about recently. I have a special guest on today who is a victim of what ended up happening with Cedric Lodge at the Harvard morgue. All right, this is Dr. Jack Porter. Okay, now Dr. Jack Porter is a graduate of Northwestern University, and he's been a researcher at Harvard since 1982. So he has a lot of history, an awful lot of knowledge. He's a sociology and criminology expert. And we are fortunate to have him on the show today. Dr. Porter, I greatly appreciate you coming on to talk about the issues that happened with your wife, Rhea, when her body was donated to Harvard. So I want to welcome you to the show and also send my deepest condolences for not only the loss of your wife, but what had happened, since you have donated her body for essentially to Harvard or for the science. So welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Jim.
If you want, you can tell our audience a little bit about you and your background, and talk to us a little bit about Rhea, please.
Yeah, it was pronounced Raya, by the way, but that's okay.
Raya. My apologies.
Yeah, I'm a survivor of the Holocaust, actually, a child survivor. So I know about death.
Wow.
Quite a bit. Lost 25 members of my family in the Holocaust. But my father was a fighter, too. He was a commander in the Soviet Jewish Partisan Brigade. So he come from a long line of fighters for the Jewish people, etc. And so we came in 1946. We spent time in a DP camp in Linz, Austria. And we were one among the first to arrive in America in 1946. Stayed in New York with the help of HIAS and other refugee groups. And then we came to Milwaukee. And I was really happy to grow up in Milwaukee. I'm a Midwesterner. I'm wearing the colors, purple and gold of Washington High School. If there's any listeners out there in Milwaukee or Wisconsin who remember me. And it was a great, community, a wonderful place to grow up. So I went to the University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee. I went to Israel after high school as a member of a labor Zionist organization. But when we got back, my parents didn't have enough money to send me to a big school. Actually, I was almost accepted to Harvard, but they didn't have enough money, so I spent 4 years living with my parents at the University of Wisconsin, which was good. Yeah, and then got my PhD at Northwestern. And then after that, moved out to Boston, actually believe it or not, to find a wife, a Jewish woman, because we had a very small Jewish community. And so I found one, and we got divorced, and I found another one, and she passed away. And then finally, I guess I hit the jackpot in one way. I found a beautiful, wonderful Ukrainian woman for my third wife, and she converted to Judaism. And she was a doctor, ironically. But sadly, after about 6.5 years of marriage, she contracted colon cancer. And so in about April of, I have the dates here, of 2017, because later I learned those dates are important, Jim. She wrote, signed an agreement with the people, the managers, what they call it, the anatomical gift program. That's the correct name. And the person there was Tracy Fay. So we were dealing with the program manager, not with Cedric Lodge directly, but with the managers. And you sign that either two things. One, that they'll use the body. She knew she was dying. Okay, I'll admit. And she died in a hospice. So all this stuff is, carried out ahead of time, naturally. All the papers are signed ahead of time. And she knew what was going to happen. And there are either two things, Jim. Either they cremate her or they bury her. And here's something else that I think you almost have an exclusive on to some degree. There's a private cemetery in Tewksbury, Massachusetts. It's called Pineview Cemetery.
Okay.
And the bodies are buried there. So you can either have them cremated or buried. So, and this cemetery is controlled by the 4 major medical schools of Eastern Mass: Harvard, Tufts, Boston University, and UMass in Worcester. And it's locked.
Okay.
I can't get in. If I try to cross over, I'd either hurt myself or get arrested. That's another thing that we can talk about. So in any case, so she passed away in the hospice, and immediately she was picked up. Yeah.
Dr. Porter, I'm going to kind of just ask a little bit of questions just to kind of
Yeah.
get everyone to
Okay.
follow. So with Raya, about what year did you guys meet and get married? What year are we talking about?
When did she die?
No. When did you guys meet and get married? I know you said you were married for 6.5 years.
Oh, yeah.
before colon
We got
cancer.
married in 2011. We met in Newton. She was a neighbor, and I got fixed up by another Ukrainian woman, and it was, love at first sight, and I was, 16 years older, but it was great, and we found each other, and I don't know if you have pictures, and so
Yeah.
that's where we met, and so we were married in 2011, so it was about
So
6.5 years or so, 6 years.
And then she was diagnosed with colon cancer.
Yeah, she was
Right.
diagnosed with colon cancer about 2 years before she died, which was November 27, 2017. So
Okay.
I mean,
And
it's true she ignored some of the symptoms. She should have. I don't know. That's a whole other story. But
right.
yeah, she died in a hospice, and
Now,
then yeah,
before she went, before her passing, obviously you guys went and looked into and were working with somebody like a manager, so to speak, with the anatomical gift program,
yeah,
which was a anatomical gift program was run there at Harvard, correct?
right.
Okay. So you weren't dealing with Cedric Lodge specifically. You were dealing with essentially like a case manager that's helping you guys get things in certain places and get the documents done and just kind of carrying out those wishes that
Yeah.
Raya had or what you and Raya had together prior to her passing.
Yeah, we never dealt with Cedric Lodge. It was Tracy Fay was a manager of the anatomical gift program.
So what was told to you by the manager? Like what was the process supposed to look like? What was told to you before you ever knew anything about Cedric Lodge or what had happened years later that I know we'll get into? I'm just trying to set
Well,
the stage of what was told.
I have the letter right in front of me that was written actually to my wife, and she was still alive. It says, Dear Miss Porter, thank you for the instrument of the anatomical gift and associated paperwork that you have signed, donating your body after death to Harvard Medical School for purposes of education, research, and the advancement of medical and dental science or therapy. Please find enclosed 2 donor cards indicating your participation in this program. We suggest that you keep one card in your wallet and give the other one to your next of kin who may be asked to act in your behalf. We greatly appreciate your interest and generosity. Sincerely yours, Tracy Fay, Manager, Anatomical Gift Program. So, you have to sign it, and you have to, and then they contact, so that when you die, they tell you ahead of time a funeral home. There was a funeral home in South Boston, and so they know to be aware that this could happen. And so when she died, I stayed with the body for a few hours and said goodbye and called the funeral home. And they came immediately and took the body to their funeral home. And then from there, immediately took it to the morgue at the Harvard Medical School. And that was in November of 2017. Now, after that, it's over. You don't hear anything from Harvard. I wanted cremation. Well, I should say Raya, my wife, wanted cremation, but I wanted it in 2 boxes. So I have a letter even stating from them, this document is in response to our conversation. It stated that you would like to make an additional change in the deposition of your wife. The original deposition was cremation of remains, and then send the remains to Jack Porter by priority express U.S. mail at the expense of the Harvard Medical School. Per our conversation, HMS will change this to cremation and splitting of cremated remains into 2 equal portions by the crematoria. Contact and send cremated remains to Jack Porter by priority express U.S. mail. We ask that you sign and acknowledge this, and again, it was signed by Tracy Faith. Now, why did I want 2 boxes? One, I wanted 1 box to be buried in West Roxbury in Boston in a Jewish cemetery so I could come, go there and visit. But the other box, this is an interesting story, Jim. She has a daughter in Kiev and grandchildren. My wife was, by the way, 56. So she had a grown daughter and grandchildren and family. So I took it upon myself to travel all the way to Kiev. It was before the war, but still it was an onerous journey, 10, 12 hours, stopping in Frankfurt and then continuing on in Kiev. And I had to carry that box with me. You can't just put it underneath the plane, with the baggage.
Right.
You're carrying a body, basically. So I had to carry that box all the way, which was fine. And I carried it. It was a strong plastic, not metal, but a plastic box, and heavily sealed. So when I arrived in the Kiev International Airport, I had no problem getting it through. They deal with this, it was not a problem getting it through customs. And so I went and buried it in a Christian cemetery, I guess, outside of Kiev. And so that her daughter and grandchildren could have a place that they could, pray at. A couple of years later, during the war, I also traveled. I traveled to the war several times. And there you have to travel to either Warsaw and take a train or to Hungary. You can't fly in. It's too dangerous to fly directly into Kiev, Jim. So we took a train in, and I remember going with her daughter, Sveta, through the war zone, about 30 miles outside of Kiev, and they had put up a tombstone with her name, Raya Porter. It was quite moving to go there. So that's what happens to the remains. Yeah.
And what was the importance? What was the significance of wanting to be a part of that anatomical gift program?
Well, Raya was a doctor herself, a gynecologist, and she felt that she should give her body for research and teaching because she had gone through the same thing, in Kiev.
Right.
They have bodies there, and that was her desire.
So you got the her ashes, 2 boxes, right? You've traveled out to where she's originally from in Ukraine. You have there's a place for her to be mourned by her family there. Mm-hmm. You also have something here in the United States, in the Massachusetts area, for her to be mourned as well by you and family that you had here in the United States, her friends and loved ones. So kind of walk me through a little bit about what had happened, right? So her body goes off to science, and what you believe is going forward with the plans that you guys have set forth with the anatomical gift program. Mm-hmm. When were you first alerted, or when did something come about? Like, how were you notified, or what was it that made you question a little bit about, well, wait a minute, what happened? Did something go wrong here with Raya and her body and the extremely generous gift that you did to donate her body to science? Like, what transpired with that?
So in 2019, we get this I got this letter acknowledging the 2 boxes. And for the next 4 years, nothing. But on June 14th, 2023, and I have the letter right here, I get this letter. Dear Dr. Porter, our records list you as the next of kin for Raya Porter, who generously donated a body to the Harvard Medical School Anatomical Gift Program. I am profoundly saddened to report that today the U.S. Attorney General Office for the Middle District of Pennsylvania announced the indictment and arrest of Cedric Lodge, a former HMS, Harvard Medical School employee, for the unlawful interstate transport of stolen human remains. Lodge worked in the morgue as part of the anatomical gift program until HMS Medical School terminated his employment on May 6th. The indictment charges Lodge with unlawful, etc., etc. And here's the key paragraph. At this time, it's done kind of passively, if you know what I mean. We cannot rule out the potential that Raya Porter's remains may have been impacted. Federal authorities continue to investigate, and as additional information emerges, we'll be in touch with you. And they never got in touch with us after that.
I have a family, just like a lot of people out there listening. We all have families. We all have loved ones. I can't imagine what that must have been like for you, sir, to get a letter like that after 4 years of grieving, healing, remembrance, the travels that you've done to where she's from, everything that you've been through, to get a letter like that. Like what did you do? What was your reaction? What would you do? Kind of walk me through that.
Well, some family members I know were extremely traumatized. I was more angry. I wouldn't say that I was traumatized because I've dealt with death in the past. I was just angry at Harvard because I expected better from them. I mean, I think anger was the main emotion, and of course disbelief that something so bizarre could happen at this great university. Yeah, I mean,
right.
Yeah.
So did you end up calling the Attorney General's office that sent you that letter, or the federal prosecutors, or what was kind of the involvement?
I was never contacted by any prosecuting attorneys. I was contacted very quickly by law firms, very quickly, by the Ketches.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, Ketches, Ketches Law Firm. Very fine firm.
Okay.
2 attorneys there, Attorney Sweet and another one there. Very fine law firm, very fine people, and and then there were some other law firms that joined them, and that was the beginning of the lawsuit. Never got another letter since that letter in June of 2023. Never received anything from Harvard. No memorial, nothing. Yeah.
And so now attorneys have approached you. I'm assuming they are wanting to assist you in a civil matter with the medical school and the anatomical gift program, and also to figure out what exactly did happen with Raya and her remains. Am I correct?
Yeah. I signed a contract with the Ketches law firm as part of the class action lawsuit. And
if you're allowed to speak of it, what all did they end up uncovering after you spent time with them and they've gone through their civil litigation?
They did their research, they went forward, and they put it forward. And the first round we actually lost. Some say by a judge who was a graduate of the Harvard Law School, but I don't know. Didn't want to say it was cynical or not. Well, he sided with Harvard, so we appealed it. So now it's on appeal.
Okay.
To be heard and to go forward with trial or settlement. And I think we will win the appeal, and we will go forward. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I want for people to understand and that are listening out there that, this isn't a come down hard on Harvard because Harvard has done a lot of exceptional things with a lot of world leaders for so many years. This is a very, very bad apple within Harvard. Cedric Lodge, that we spoke about before, he was the one in charge of the crematory. He was the one in charge of the morgue, or part of this anatomical gift program, where we know he was bringing in oddity dealers to, sell human remains and things of that. So, again, this is a very bad apple. Could happen at any company, can happen with any department. Bad apples exist, unfortunately, and we can't stop all of them. And this is one of those. So I just want for people to listening, like, this isn't a knock on Harvard itself. This was a very bad apple within Harvard. And I know that's important for Dr. Porter to express as well. And if you want to take a minute to talk about that, by all means, sir, because I know you were there since 1982.
As a sociologist and criminologist, trained at Northwestern, I'm trying to get into the mind of Cedric Lodge. Some say he did it because his wife, had cancer, and so he needed the money. That's still no excuse, right? Okay. I think what it was is that he was not appreciated, maybe. He had this almost like secretive job all on his own, very little supervision. He even dressed in a black hat. I think his license plate was Grim Reaper. So he almost got into a role that was very weird and bizarre. And then he got involved with this whole underground that nobody knows about, this deviant underground. As you've done the research, and we'll name all those people. They've all been indicted and spent time in jail or probation or whatever. That's the mind. I'm trying to figure it out myself, and I still can't put my head around it, even as a professional sociologist. What was his motivation, to do this?
I'm sure a lot of people would love to interview him, and I'm sure he's given some interviews, at least to law enforcement at this point. Just a little reminder to everybody, Cedric Lodge was arrested along with his wife, Denise Lodge. They even, and I'm sure you know all this already, Dr. Porter, but they even would invite over oddity dealer to walk through, and it was almost like it was on display. It was just a shop. Like, what do you want? I'll sell you whatever you need, and bringing things across straight lines. Cedric Lodge was given a 96-month sentence, which is 8 years. His wife was given a 12 months and 1 day. I don't know why the 1 day.
Oh yeah, I think I can tell you why she got 1 year. She has cancer, and it could be terminal. Right. Probably, I don't know. And so that's one reason, I think, why they gave her 1 year. But again, no excuse.
No excuse, and I think the psychology of it all, too. I mean, like, you have to me, I just don't know how someone can go to that level of inconsiderate, no emotion about what you're doing, just not even taking into account that these are people's loved ones, right? Like, this is your wife, Dr. Porter. The amount of just feeling violated, not only with how they handled it or what had taken place with Cedric Lodge, and to have such reckless abandonment about everything that he was doing, and doing this in such secrecy to make a buck, is one of the most disgusting things I've heard of. And I've heard a lot of stuff in my years. I've investigated a lot of crazy cases, even stuff we've talked about on this show. But for someone to purposefully mislead others in what the intentions are, and not handling your loved one with such care and concern, my gosh, the psychological profile that needs to be built on Cedric Lodge to figure that out would be interesting. And with you being a sociology major, I'm certain you have
I'd love to interview the
questions.
Guy. Maybe he will talk, and he should talk about why. But ostensibly, I understand that he said he needed the money. But I'm interested in his mind. He was there for 27 years, Jim. He was there for a long, long time.
Very long time.
Long time. Totally unsupervised. No cameras.
So
Yeah.
So since we talk about that, just
Yeah.
a couple questions here. One of them I have for you is, how do you think this could have been prevented? Like, who do you think is necessarily responsible for that lack of oversight?
Oh, well, definitely Harvard University, the medical school, no question about it. They should have had cameras. They should have had two signatures. People who headed up the anatomical department should have had a signature every time a body is moved in or out. And they should have had all kinds of security and all kinds of... And also understand that there was a problem with Mr. Lodge even before that they were thinking of firing him. I don't know if you heard about that. And then they
I
kept him
haven't.
on.
Let me know.
So,
I'd love to hear it.
So they already, I don't know the details, Jim, about that, but so there was a precedent there that they're not talking about. And so they didn't oversee him. They didn't have anybody. And it's, it's kind of a cold, dark place at night, right? It's kind of creepy, isn't it?
Right.
And so he invites people in. This, to me, is the most disgusting thing. Okay, I could understand he takes part to his place in New Hampshire or wherever he lives and mails them out. But he brings these creepy characters into the morgue.
Right.
They're in a medical school. This is bizarre. And they're roaming around and they're choosing the body parts that they want.
With
This
no
is
care
beyond
and concern.
belief. I mean, I can't make this up even if I was a science fiction writer.
Right.
And as you know, we can talk about some of these people, and they're creepy, but they're also quite intelligent, fascinating people too.
Right.
I don't believe that you can just say, oh, they were crazy. No, these people knew what they were doing.
Oh, 100%. And they knew exactly what they were doing.
Oh, they knew
knew
exactly
price
what
points,
they were doing. And they
I
knew
mean,
that they were just within the law, Jim, because the laws are very, very weak dealing with body parts. At least what we call the dry body part. The wet stuff and other, or if it's used, for transplanting, your liver, those are regulated, Jim. It's this other stuff that's in this gray area. They even have conferences and exhibits all over the world, it seems, that are growing. They call it the oddities, right? Have you looked into that, right? The oddities. It draws, 30,000 people. I think there was one in Kentucky or something.
yeah.
It's this
Yeah,
fascination with death and dead.
Well, that's kind of how Cedric was running it, right? He had the morgue, he had and he would invite people over as if it was his own personal shop. Have people come in and they like window shop and like, oh, I want to see that. How much for this? How much for that? To me, I don't know how a human gets to that level, how they allow themselves to get to that point where, they're going to go ahead and feel like this is okay. I mean, every moral code is broken and violated. It's disgusting to me, but they exist.
Yeah,
They
there's
exist,
a
and
monetary basis for each. If you go online with $2,000 for a skull, skin is by the inch, Jim. You can actually measure the skin, and it's I don't know $100 an inch or whatever it is. So they have to quantify it,
wow.
and whether it's tattooed, maybe it's more, maybe it's less.
Right.
Nipples. What bothers me, Jim, is there's somebody out there touching and manipulating and getting off on my wife's body part. That is so chilling, Jim.
It is.
So chilling when we know that somebody is getting off or sleeping with, like there was one guy, he puts the skulls, if you read about this guy, he puts the skull on his bed. It kind of reminds me of the guy who was in, Basis of Psycho. Remember that guy in Wisconsin?
Right.
And some of the other things that movies have been made. I'm sure there'll be a movie made about this. It's beyond words, Jim. It's beyond words.
And speaking of, so we talked about the charges and Cedric Lodge pleading along with his wife, but then all these oddity dealers. Do you feel like those sentences or what they pled to was appropriate for their crimes? Or Kind of what's your
Yeah,
thoughts? Because
8 years. Yeah, I mean, he didn't, murder anybody or kill anybody for the skin or the bones or whatever. Uh, so 8 years. I think one guy, Paulie, I think he only got probation, but as you mentioned, it was his wife or girlfriend that got angry at Mr. Paulie from Pennsylvania, and then she brought in the FBI, and they went down into the basement and saw
correct.
kind of like a Jeffrey Dahmer or that guy from Wisconsin that the movie Psycho is based on,
Yeah.
horrific barrels of lungs and what they call the wet tissues. So yeah,
Yeah, that's how the whole case became a
no,
known,
that's
was the
exactly
fact
right.
that
That was broke it. The fight between
yeah,
Jeremy Pauly, who is himself is a. I would love to interview Jeremy Pauly. I mean, this guy
for
is
sure.
so strange, with the half tattoo, the eyeball. His eyeball is tattooed. I mean,
Oh, it's nuts.
spikes out of his head. I mean, I don't understand
It's
why people do that, Jim. Can you give me a handle on that?
I have no idea why they do all these things too, which was with all the tattoos on the face and everything
Well,
else. I mean, what,
Paulie says, and he's not stupid. These are very bright people. Paulie said, "I want to push the envelope of what we don't want to look at. I want to look at.
right,
I want to push the idea of death and deadness to the nth degree
right.
because everyone pushes away. So, you have to go into his family life or whatever. I don't know, his psyche, get a good psychiatrist and figure out, why are you obsessed with deadness, and you actually rationalize it in a very brilliant way. And he was one of the key people, wasn't he, Mr. Pauly, and a few other people. Like they have these oddity shops in Salem, which is a place.
They're all over the
strange,
place.
yeah, it's a strange place where all kinds of creepiness and witchcraft and
They
all this
use
other
different
stuff comes
platforms
out.
like Discord or other platforms in order to, get the word out or to sell or to make their transactions. And like you said, if there wasn't an argument or the divorce coming between the husband and wife that had that fight to begin with, and then she reported to law enforcement, I believe that he had, I don't know if they were 55-gallon drums or whatever it was, just full of body parts and skulls and everything else. And then they went in and that's what kickstarted everything. And then they had to start piecing it back and pulling it together to figure out, where
Yeah.
exactly was this all coming from. And lo and behold, it all leads back to Cedric Lodge at the Harvard Medical School. A very odd and very strange case, Doc. I don't.
Jim, there's a precedent that about 20 some years ago at UCLA, there was also the case of I don't know if you read about that, the head of the anatomical gift program and other managers there sold body parts. So other prestigious university, ironically one that I even went to for a
Right.
summer years ago, so they've been involved. And of course, some funeral homes.
Have you, since all of this began, have you connected with some of the other families that are in the same situation as you?
Yeah, I did connect with a family on the south shore of Boston. He owns a tire company, and it's very interesting to share with other families their reaction, their who they donated, and the different reasons why, etc. Yeah, so I've had one or two people. I'd like to meet more. See, I believe Harvard should have a gathering, a memorial for all of us family members at Harvard.
I agree.
They've never done that. They do that, by the way, every year. They have a special formal memorial for the doctors and medical students and staff at Harvard for these bodies or people. Did you know that? They have one, but they don't invite family members.
Well, I would imagine and think after all of this that Harvard will at some point do something for all of you in what has come to light and what has happened. I can't see them remaining silent and not feeling sorry for what has taken place or what even happened necessarily under their watch for not having the proper checks and balances. I agree with you. There should have been cameras everywhere. You should have been able to roam free in and out of there. There should have been some sort of log every time you open and close a door. Should have a passcode. The signatures. It's almost like when I investigate a crime and somebody dies on a scene and we put them in a body bag. We have to put a tag on that body bag, especially if there's going to be an autopsy, right? And so we have to take pictures of that seal. That's a serial number seal. Even when we get to the morgue for the autopsy, like everything is part of what we refer to as a chain of custody evidence log. And it should be the same way when a body is gifted, when this body was, whether it was taken out of the cooler or whether there were, every step of the way should have some sort of log behind it, 2 signatures. I fully agree with you there. There should have been the appropriate checks and balances so that way this can't happen. I'm quite certain Harvard will make those necessary changes. I'm sure they already have for what they've got going on.
Right, Jim, they've come out with a report.
Yeah.
But, the horses have left the stable, as they say. It's too late.
Right. It's too late.
We're talking about 600 families. 600 families affected by this.
I would think Harvard will at some point or another try to do something for all of you families that have been affected by this privately. I don't see them wanting to do it publicly, but I can absolutely see them wanting to do something privately.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think they should.
I think they will settle this. I don't think they will go to trial.
Right.
We'll settle this. People will get whatever money it will never replace anybody, any loved ones. But yeah, they'll settle. They've got too much going on with, the Epstein thing and all, and Trump wanting money. I kind of almost feel sorry for Harvard. I mean, I was kind of, I think there was somebody, some comic made a joke about that. Who really feels sorry for Harvard? I think this comedian said.
Right.
You just don't. Here's a place that has $59 billion in its coffers, right?
Right.
And I feel sorry for it.
Yeah,
but
it's and Cedric Lodge is obviously a very bad apple, and much like any network, any corporation, organization, people slip through the cracks. And like you said earlier, Cedric Lodge was there for a very long time. At some point or another, he turned and he changed, unless he was doing things that people don't know about prior to it. I would say he's one of those that slipped through the cracks, and it eventually came to light. I want to ask you another question because I think it's important for you to be able to share a little bit about your wife, Raya, and her legacy. But what are some things you would want some people to know about your wife and what she stood for, who she was?
Well, she was just a wonderful person, caring. She was kind of like an older sister to a lot of the younger Ukrainian women who came from Ukraine, and all the war-torn, all the things. And so she was a bit older than the other women, and everybody loved her. She was a great woman. What can I say? I really loved her very much. Everybody loved her, and it's really a shame that she died from the cancer. And it's a shame that, well, of course she doesn't know about this, but it's a shame that, I can imagine her daughter. I've never talked to her about this with her daughter, and she has a father, because Raya was married previously. So I haven't talked about this with my Ukrainian family, but maybe we should talk about it. But of course, they're very upset, and that I want people to remember that she was just a wonderful, beautiful person. And so, yeah.
And is there, from this experience, the floor is yours. If there's some things you want to say about the experience, or
well, I want to say
what it
to
was
people
like for
out
you.
there who are thinking of donating, please do. But I would say, choose the institution carefully. Donate directly, to an accredited medical school, not a third party, not a body donation service, or even to a funeral home. Deal directly with the medical school. Confirm the school is accredited. Read the contract very carefully. And don't necessarily trust even if it's a medical school, if you have to, contact an attorney or whatever, look at the contract, but make sure it's an accredited medical school, not some third party, and never to a funeral home or to a quote body donation. If you do that, you're going to be okay. That's my feeling.
To make sure they have their checks and balances in place.
Ask a lot of questions. That's the thing. When people die, they rely too much. They're so traumatized. They're too much on the funeral home or the other people. They just don't ask the questions, and they just take it for granted.
Dr. Porter, I thank you very much for your time coming on here and sharing your experiences. I know this was very difficult for you on multiple levels, not only losing your beautiful wife, Raya, who is a very beautiful woman, by the way. The pictures will be up for everybody to be able to see. Beautiful, beautiful woman, a doctor, you said gynecologist, from the Ukraine, war-torn Ukraine, you yourself being a survivor of the Holocaust. I mean, there's so much history. I could do a whole show talking to you about that. But my heartfelt condolences to you and to your family and everything that you guys have experienced. I know losing your wife was incredibly difficult, but I can't imagine what it would be like to get this kind of news 4 years, 5 years after her passing, when this whole time you believed that you've been mourning what were the remains of Raya. So I have no idea how you are as well-grounded as you are over that. I think I would be irate, and there would be some people on my shit list, so to speak. And I know that you are, but you're handling yourself with grace. And again, thank you for coming on this show, and my heartfelt condolences to you and your family, Dr. Porter.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. Thank you.
Absolutely. And we will see if we have you on again, since you're the sociology expert, and maybe some other cases we can talk about in the future. So there you have it. That's Dr. Jack Porter. Very thankful for his time and to share his experiences of what he went through with this whole Harvard Medical School anatomical gift program. Again, for those of you listening, the Cedric Lodge, Denise Lodge, I don't think they got enough time. I don't. I mean, yeah, I understand they didn't necessarily kill anybody, so to speak, but the disgusting nature that they went about to make a buck, giving back fake remains to the loved ones that have actually donated their bodies. This doesn't help promote donating bodies to science. It's going to make people question things more, and it's something that's needed. That's how we determine so much of this world is from science, medical procedures, different technologies, different techniques, everything. Even from investigative side on a criminal aspect of it. There's a lot of bodies that are donated to science for that, just so we can investigate and learn everything from sizes of maggots and how they eat and how they, develop in stages of decomposition. There's just so much that goes on with science. So to have people like this treating a morgue like it's, their everyday shop, come on in. What do you want? Oh, you want a penis? Sure. Oh, you want a shoulder? Oh, you want a brain? Maybe a nose? Whatever the case is, that's how they treated it. It's very disgusting. It's very disturbing. I can't imagine having my loved ones that I believed in and I trusted to handle my loved one's body that we donated. And then you're going to come back to me 4 or 5 years later with a letter that basically states that my loved one's remains weren't cared for as they were supposed to be. Unfortunately, this is a major black eye on Harvard University. It's going to be there for a very long time. But again, I do want to tell people this is to do specific with Cedric Lodge and the morgue. But I believe in my heart that Harvard will do right by this. I do feel they will do something for the 600 plus families that have been grossly violated and victimized due to Cedric Lodge and his wife, and all these oddity dealers that, purchasing these things and putting them on display. It's a whole world. It's an underground world. I'm sure it's all going to unravel for a lot of these people. I'm sure there'll be a lot of laws put in place soon enough. But you heard it there, Dr. Jack Porter. We will be back. We will have more on this. I'm going to try to get an investigator from this, along with some other things we're working on. For those of you listening to, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Jim Rathmann Show. Follow us on Apple, iHeartRadio, Spotify. We're on all those platforms. We're here to bring you content. Happy to take suggestions on things you want us to investigate. Also, the Patreon group. I'm going to be going on doing a live here in the next 2 weeks or so to interact with those on the Patreon group. Love the feedback. Love to just talk. So anything you want to discuss on there, let's do it. But go to the Jim Rathmann Show on YouTube, like and subscribe, and follow us on all the platforms for your listening pleasure. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much. Take care.